We were very aware of the fact that women were suffering in a variety of ways because of abortion being against the law. Women did awful things out of fear and desperation. We knew that some would be injured, some would die. Many people around them, including children that they already had, would suffer. So we thought, we can be of use. You need an abortion, we'll help you. Call this number and ask for Jane.
That was a clip from a new documentary about the Janes, an underground abortion network created out of necessity in the 1960s. And while it's an inspiring portrait of a group of women fighting their subjugation, it's also a look back into a dark time of our country's past. And unfortunately, it's newly relevant again with the looming Supreme Court decision that almost certainly will overturn Roe v. Wade. Congress could act to codify Roe into law, but there's no chance of that happening right now. In fact, Senate Republicans have previewed their plans to enact a national abortion ban if they take over after the November elections. So a group of Senate Democrats, led by Senator Elizabeth Warren and Senator Patty Murray, are asking President Biden to act now. In a letter released today, they wrote, Americans across the country are at risk of losing their fundamental rights, including their constitutional right to abortion protected for generations. They deserve no less than a whole-of-government response. Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts joins me now. It's always great to see you. You were nodding during the clip.
Yeah.
That's a past that is not the distant past.
That is exactly right. That is the past of the world I grew up in.
Yeah.
When I was a little girl, when I was a teenager. And the idea that 5 extremists on the United States Supreme Court want to take us back to that world, want to treat women as second-class citizens. I see this as a moment that it has got to be all hands on deck, a whole-of-government response. I get it. Congress could act, but we just don't have the votes right now. So we need the President of the United States to act.
What do you want him to do?
So we put a list. You know, you got to have a plan.
Yeah.
So Patty Murray and I and nearly 24 other senators, all Democrats, of course, said, here's a list of things you can do, Mr. President. And it starts with making sure that there's more access to medication abortions. Right now, there are restrictions on the availability of that drug that are not medically necessary, they're politically necessary. Okay, let's get rid of those. Let's do only what's medically necessary.
And that can be done by executive action?
That can be done.
Okay.
That can be done through the FDA. We've got, it's lots of agencies. I say executive action. It's really the agencies, it's every part, but it's whole of government is our response. Another part that we can make sure is that people who receive Medicaid for their medical care get the full range of services that by law are supposed to be available to them, including choice of provider. And that means enough of these states deciding Planned Parenthood can't operate within their borders. So it's being aggressive and pushing back on that. Another piece is we want the administration to explore what can be done with federal property within the states that are hostile. How about if the federal government looks into the possibility, can they have clinics there? Can we give advice there? How can we be helpful? Federal government is a huge employer. So is the federal government stepping up and saying that if a federal employee lives in a state that is restricting access to abortion, that as an employer, the federal government will make sure that not only will that woman's health care be covered, but her transportation will be covered, and she gets a longer period.
Or if it's illegal to leave the state, such as in some of these states where they're saying, well, it's illegal to leave the state, or if somebody's on a military base.
Exactly. In fact, and I'll give you one more, and that is, as you know, there are now apps, for example, that track a woman's period. Well, instead of those being something that's just available to the woman, the federal government can remind the sites and clarify under HIPAA and other laws that those data have to be held private, cannot be sold to others, cannot be made accessible to others who may want to interfere with that woman's individual health decisions and want to be able to monitor her. So there's the whole point of this is to say there are a lot of different directions where the government could go. We want to see this administration all hands on deck. Yeah. This is a 5-alarm fire. Yeah. We need to be fighting.
And what has been the response from the administration?
Well, we just got the letter to them, so I want to be fair. Yeah. We've just gotten it over there. But I'm very hopeful because I feel a real sense of Democrats united here. Yeah. You know, look at it this way. The Republicans, how do we get in this mess? And part of the answer is because the Republicans have fought for this for a long time. Yeah. They have had a long-term strategy to get one extremist after another onto the Supreme Court. And ultimately, of course, stealing a Supreme Court seat, rushing through another Supreme Court nominee, and having Supreme Court nominees, as I recall, who all said Roe versus Wade was settled law. That's and right. They weren't going to interfere with settled law. Yeah, so we got all that done. Mm-hmm. But the point is, they've been after this, aggressively, hard, fighting it for years and years and years. We have counted on the other side, on the Supreme Court, to protect our individual rights. Right. Well, it's pretty clear we better stop doing that. Yeah. And it's pretty clear right now we better be willing to fight back twice as hard as the Republicans fought to get here, because this is about protecting all of us.
Yeah, indeed. And we don't want to go back to a future where women are having to essentially be in an abortion underground when there's a crisis pregnancy, to have to risk your doctor turning you in, or some religious extremist that knows you're pregnant, or people tracking your periods. It truly is not what America is supposed to be in a modern era.
We are not going back.
That's
not
right.
Now.
That's right. Ever. Amen. Amen, sister. Appreciate you. Senator Elizabeth Warren, thank you. It's always a pleasure.
Always good.